Hey, what's up? Ethan here. Gonna do a tour of a Keyboard Mania arcade machine. Keyboard Mania is a 2001 era music rhythm game based upon playing musical keyboard. So, the history of this machine was I actually saw it at MagFest 8, the first MagFest I went to, and I'd never seen this thing before in my life, and I was kind of intrigued by it. And the back door was off, so I looked in the back and I saw that it actually used MIDI cables, which furthered my interest in the machine. So after MagFest 8, it actually got damaged pretty badly, and it never actually made it back to another MagFest, and ended up getting passed around among some friends, and some repair was done on the cabinet, but the monitors were pulled from it to put into good games. So I ended up acquiring it off of one of the prior owners with the sole mission of restoring it 100% and bringing it back to MagFest, because it was cool. So here's kind of a walkthrough, progress, and where it's at. So this actually went to MagFest this year, 2017, but it died in transit. So it went working 100%, but then bad things happened. So it was on the floor working for a slight period of time, but then when the keyboards broke, and I'll explain what happens there. It's a beast of a cabinet. There's two players built into one. There's no way to separate it, so heavy, MDF. It's kind of rough. So the actual makeup of it is there's two keyboards. Each player, one or two players, hits the keys when the lines hit the line, similar to Dance Dance Revolution or Poppin' Music or 2DX or whatever. In the case of this machine, one of the things that the initial issue was the marquee at the top is very heavy, and it's front heavy, so it will not sit on the top without being screwed down without falling forward, and the bottom actually ripped out of it. So the marquee kind of took a pretty big amount of damage. And then after I got it, I think it was in the warehouse, and then on the upper corner here you can see it doesn't come to mate together well. So it's still kind of iffy, but it's all together. I think the final might be to rebuild the whole marquee, but I'm not really looking forward to trying to do that. In this case, when I got it, it did not have the marquee plastic, but the original owners, they managed to find it when they were moving and got it to me. And it's actually cracked, but it's taped back together in one section. It's not actually cracked all the way through. I can't even tell where it is, so good enough. And the original fluorescent light, I pulled it out since I think it used a non-standard American, the bulb was not kind of a American standard size, so I replaced it with an LED strip, so that kind of took away a little bit on the original look, but in this case, whatever. The light was actually, the ballast transformer was 100 volt, 50 hertz, which, once again, I've always had a little suspicion that maybe the original monitors that were in it, that were both dead, weren't really meant to be used in the USA. They're actually Toshiba chassis, and they're really nice, but there's no information whatsoever on the internet. I searched the part number, and there's like one post on KLOV from someone that had a Sega Blast City or some other candy cabin. They couldn't find any info. So these monitors are not original. These are Wells Gardner's D9200 Tri-Syncs. The game runs at medium res, which is kind of the huge pain point to me in it, at least, getting replacement monitors. And they're 27/29 inch mounted sideways. So the D9200 is known to be kind of a bad monitor, unreliable. And as you can see, one of the chassis I bought the chassis right before MagFest on eBay, $140 working. It worked for a short period of time, and then it was dead at events. But I can't say that it was actually the chassis' fault, and I'll get to that. So the actual keyboards are MIDI. However, at MagFest, there's these expression wheels right here that let you kind of move it's supposed to pitch bend is what a real keyboard would do. And MIDI has a spec for moving that data across the MIDI bus. It's built into all the hardware, oddly. Konami didn't use it, so there's the potentiometers that are actually used for the modulation wheels are tied separately on a whole different cable going to the chassis, the game computer, which is kind of strange. So it's actually a 4-pin 10K ohm, I think. So I've got to actually replace this one. This actually potentiometer is bad. It seized up, and then the wheel was still moved, and that was able to break free. So moving around to the back, once again, it is a beast. So You can see the two monitor chassis sit up top, and they slide out through the front once you remove all of the stuff on the front, you know, the side pieces and the speakers and the clamping bars for the glass. And this is actually the Firebeat, or I think it's a System 16 Konami rig, and it's kind of unique. So it's got two CD-ROM drives. The left one, I believe, is the game data, and the right one is the audio for the game. So what it uses is basically an audio CD, CDDA audio, which is kind of strange. But I guess for that era, it made sense. And the Firebeat system in other cases has been used with DVDs and hard drives. And some of the other games it's used in, like Para, and I think it was used in Poppin' Music as well. But yeah, in this case it's two CD-ROMs. Next board has the two video outputs. One is, or they're both running at medium res. I don't know if the game is high res. If it was, that would actually, or if we could do standard, that'd be kind of nice. But I think the detail would be lost in standard, but VGA would be kind of cool. But security dongle, and then some standard wiring for the cabinet hardware, be it probably lights and service switches, coin drop, and modulation wheels. I don't know which connected modulation wheels come in, but whatever. So the actual feeds from the keyboards come into here. You can see MIDI in 1 and 2, player 1, player 2. And then there's an out, and the out is actually going to another board up here, which interestingly enough, Yamaha has kind of co-branding on this whole system. So this is actually a Yamaha synthesizer module, a real MIDI tone module that be used kind of in professional or high-grade hobbyist use. And the thing is it's just missing the box in the front screen. I think it's an MU1000 series module based upon the RCAs. It doesn't have the more professional quarter-inch connections. And you know, I looked online a little bit. I couldn't really find solid evidence, but it seems to line up with the way the connectors are. And then over here we have the audio amplifier board. So the audio amplifier board receives a mix of the CDD audio from CDDA and then the tone module. They're mixed together into that, which pushes actually, there's 4 speakers on the marquee top and then left and right on the cabinet. So there's actually quite a few speakers. So that's the crate of hardware, and then you can see my monitor. So I think what happened at MagFest, or guests could be, these monitors, you have to pull the tube out of the normal chassis and mount them sideways, because it's got kind of this custom mount that holds the monitor chassis, and the monitor sits really close with the 9200 board is so large that you can see there's barely any room around the neck and everything for that board to sit in there. So I think what might have happened is I didn't have them tacked down, and I think the board slid forward on the one that's now dead, and I think one of the heat sinks was actually touching the back of the tube, and the back of the tube is coated with the stuff that forms a capacitor, and I don't know, it might have caused damage. It might have taken out that chassis. There's power hitting it. The fuse is good, but it never even seems to try to come up. So something's kind of bad, and probably in the power supply. So it's not like coming up and going into shutdown or something. So the left monitor, or sorry, the left to us monitor is working fine for the moment, which is one of the boards. A friend of mine, Buffet, he had given me 3 9200s chassis in unknown condition, and one of them actually worked. So that one is the first one I got working, fully recapped at 70 something capacitors, 78 capacitors to replace. I don't know how long it'll last. And then the other one here that came from eBay, I had not recapped, and it seemed to only last a couple hours. So I have a third chassis that a friend rides, Squid Hero, has recapped, but I have yet to test it. It's kind of a pain getting it in there, and some of the cables need to be lengthened because with the tube sitting sideways, some of the cables don't reach where the chassis would normally be sitting this, sideways to the tube, and things coming down off the tube were cut to length. So on this chassis I fixed that. The other one was just kind of tacked on solder wise, so I need to clean that up a little bit. But I'll probably move to a medium res only Wells Gardner chassis for them both. That's kind of the last thing to do once the keyboards are rebuilt. And the keyboards themselves, this one came to me broken. Here, it turns out I kind of did a bunch of hunting. The keyboards in these are based on consumer Yamaha keyboards. So the Yamaha PSR 215 is a candidate donor. And there's like 2 other models right close to it. Not a lot of the consumer keyboards have the same style. The way you can kind of tell is this H effect on the keys. So this one has the cover off and everything because of that. But the this H kind of pattern here is how you narrow it down. But I found some on eBay that had parted that one out, so I've actually bought 2 octaves of keys. So I'll end up replacing these probably after I get the modulation wheel on the side fixed. And the speakers here, these are pretty dinged up. These are also something you can find, coming off all the way. These are something you can find online. Screws are mostly metric, or all metric, and I don't have the lockdown bar for the top of the glass, so I'm going to have to fabricate something for that. But that's Keyboard Mania. Yeah, both nodes are working, but didn't make it past MagFest. So I'll continue working on this one, and it should be at the next one. Actually, it'll probably be at Mag Labs this year, because I've got a fury to get it working. And it is a hard game. It's not a popular game. It seems to be that the only reason people seek them out is because they can link somehow. I'm actually not sure what the cabling is between them. But this can link with the Guitar Freaks and Drum Mania for a session jam, which is, I guess you could say, is the original Rock Band arcade style. And there actually is a video on YouTube of someone in the USA running one. I'm curious as to how many of these actually exist in the USA. A friend Eric Holdnicker has one, and then there's 1 or 2 videos on YouTube, but I don't think there's too many of these out there, at least stateside. So, that's it.